Hello and welcome to the Real Life Alexa channel. I'm Alexa. This is Real Life. And today I am actually going to talk about a topic that the person who gave me my channel name has asked me to talk about. And I started thinking about this topic more this week because someone who, I don't know if it's TikTok or what, but he shares his life as a severely visually impaired gentleman with a service dog. And he was thrown out of a restaurant because from what I can gather from the story, someone very recently had been in there and lied that their dog was a service animal, and the dog was an absolute menace and caused a lot of trouble. And they were not in a good place, shall we say, frame of mind because of that. And then, anyway, this person was. It sounds like everything has been worked out with that. So my point is not to talk about his story. My point is to talk about what a service animal versus an emotional support animal versus a pet is. So a service animal is an animal that has been trained to do something, a task, or more than one task. An emotional support animal is an animal that provides a therapeutic benefit to a person with a mental I don't like saying illness, but a mental health or psychiatric disability. So a pet is not a service animal, not been trained to do anything. An ESA, not an ESA. It's not there helping someone with some sort of mental issue or psychiatric issue. And in all three cases, they can be much loved and a part of our family. So in that way, they are the same. The emotional support animal, they can, a lot of people I know find comfort if they're anxious. A dog or a cat can, or whichever pet they have, but the people I know mainly have dogs and cats. It can help a panic attack go away as you focus on the animal, their fur, their softness. If a cat is snuggling up and purring, that sound can help bring you back down. That is in a way a service, but the pet has not been trained, or the animal has not been trained to do it. It's not a specific task. Also, an ESA is not expected to behave a certain way. They are not held to the standards of a service animal. A service animal should be well kept under control at all times. This means that they have to be extremely well trained. If they are told to sit and lay down, they sit and lay down, right? They just go to sleep under the chair. They don't try and get on the table or annoy other people in the restaurant. They certainly don't try and interact with other animals that walk past them, react to those animals, none of that. An ESA could, because they might not have been trained to do something. And then the other part about a service animal is that they have been trained to do specific tasks. So in my example earlier that had brought this up to what I was thinking about, their animal has been trained to see for them, to navigate for them. I know people who have had service dogs who alert to seizures. You can have animals that alert to, for example, in type 1 diabetics, low blood sugar, or I believe, or high blood sugar. There is a bunch online of dogs who have been trained for things like POTS, and I can't remember what that is, but it's something to do with their heart and their blood pressure, and if you have POTS, you can faint quite easily. I remember one, the dog knows he's not allowed on the counter, but he can't reach the medicine, and it was pushed to the back of the counter. And he looks at his owner, he looks at his own, and then he jumps up, grabs it, and jumps down like in 2 seconds because he knew he had to get the medicine for his owner. And then he got a bottle of water from, I think it was a shelf where they keep them, and then got the cell phone as well. And then lay on the person's legs to help put pressure and bring the blood back up into, it must be a low blood pressure, I think. Anyway, I'm not a medical person, and if I had, if I thought about it, I might have Googled it to talk about. But the topic of this is the service animals. When you see these videos, when you see a seeing eye dog, guide dog, I don't know the correct terminology or preferred terminology at this point. They've been trained for a task. They are doing something very specific. They are normally so well trained. They are not reactive to other animals. I have personally, thankfully, not been in a situation where I have seen someone claiming they have a service animal, like a teacup chihuahua in a pocketbook who is barking their heads off, going crazy. That's not a trained dog. And it's absolutely, I have very strong words about how I feel about people who lie about that. Selfish is probably the least strong one I'm thinking right now. And the problem with people who do this is they cause issues for the people who truly do need and have a well-trained service animal, an actual service animal. This isn't to say that an emotional support animal isn't important. They can be incredibly important. They can save lives. They genuinely can help someone who is depressed or anxious or whatever it is, help them. Just by being, a part of the family and a natural companion. They don't have to be trained for that. I have 2 cats personally, and they bring so much joy and light into my life. They bring such companionship. I know there's people who, I think there's a lot of people who might not like cats as much as they like dogs. I think cats are a little more of introverts kind of nature and dogs are more extrovert. Though obviously every animal is different. You can get variations. Some cats can be outgoing. We can see how important animals can be in a person's life with the pandemic and lockdowns, and people did go and rescue a lot of animals, and they did bring a lot of joy to people's lives. I'm a little disturbed how many animals ended up being given up after lockdowns ended. I am the opposite. Once they're my pet and I love them, like I would be devastated giving them away. And I have done things like live further away from my work. When I lived in New York, I could have got a room or place in Manhattan somewhere, but it was hard to find one that allowed pets. And so I got somewhere much farther away. Side note, you do save money the further away you get from Manhattan. So, I mean, there were other benefits to it. But places I have heard and have knowledge of are starting to allow emotional support animals outside of their no pets policy, right? So they have to allow service animals. Service animals have to be allowed in any apartment. But emotional support animals, no one has to let you have your emotional support animals live with you in their apartment building. They don't. It's not covered by the law. As much as we have had updates over the past 20 years in our attitudes towards mental health, our knowledge about how important it is. The law has not caught up with the fact that in our own homes, in apartments, we should be allowed to have, animals if they're there for emotional support. Side note, if you are a landlord and you have a 1-cat policy, you might want to think of making it 2-cat policy. 1 cat can get lonely and bored and cause a lot of trouble, a lot of issues in your apartment. 2 cats, when they get bored, they're more likely to go find the other cat, chew on them, play with them, take out their, annoyance on the cat and not on the apartment. So I do think landlords need to catch up with that fact, because cats are not as solitary as people think. They are often very loving and caring. And yes, they like to be left alone for a while, but they also like to be able to go find companionship when they want it. Think of your favorite introvert in your family who comes out of their room every so often to interact with you and maybe get a hug and then disappears away again. It's kind of like that. And I say that with all the confidence of someone who is quite introverted in many ways. So yeah, I know, and I relate, and that's how I can that's how I have come to this understanding of cats. In terms of the people who don't have a trained service animal, who are trying to pass off their ESA or possibly just a pet as a service animal, I really, really encourage you to not do that. First of all, it's just egregiously morally wrong. So in terms of legality, I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to look for that. But just remember, restaurants, businesses, wherever, they are allowed to legally ask, is it a service animal? What tasks is it trained to do? They're allowed to ask those 2 questions. And the animal should be under control, well behaved at all times. So even if you have a service animal and that service animal is not being well behaved, and it's not because they're alerting to an emergency about to happen, if the animal is not being well behaved, there is some precedence there to say this animal is not being well behaved. It's disrupting everything in here, right? It's not. Why would you expect a business to allow, a big dog to run around willy-nilly and bump into other customers, knock stuff off tables, maybe eat stuff off other people's plates? Like, you wouldn't expect that. That would be pretty bad. So I think it's highly unlikely a trained service animal would do that, but there's always a chance they have a rough day. So, well, I hope my friend appreciates what I've said. I hope I covered all the bases. I hope it's given people just a little bit of food for thought, I think a lot of us would like to take our pets with us anywhere and everywhere we go. I know I sure would, although that wouldn't be fair to my pets. So it's one reason I don't take them places I can take them places, but it would stress them out. So I don't, as a responsible pet owner. I put their health and well-being ahead of mine in those instances. And I am talking about my 2 cats here. Every cat is different. So there are cats who like to go out and be social. If you've learned something, please drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what pets you have. I follow a gentleman who does a reptile rescue, and one of his lizards underwent emergency surgery this week. Might have been Monday, I think, and it might have been Sunday. I don't know. And he obviously cares for that animal as much as I care for my cats. And I might not be a lizard person myself, but I'm fully able to understand how we can love our pets that much. And definitely wish all the best to his pet for his recovery. So, as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And just be kind to yourself, right? We all could do with just a little bit more love in our lives, I think. So, see you next time.